close towards the halfway point in the round. Todd below trying to get to work with the skeleton key again. I think he might play a critical role in clearing out some of these players from below.
Living started in 2013 after we lost a very good man in the name of Dwayne Lally to a mental illness. They say death by suicide affects 115 people, but you can't even put a number on it. The ripple effect that the loss of one life had on thousands of people far outweighed what I've ever experienced in my entire life.
I received a call saying he'd gone missing. I was driving around the whole of the Gold Coast looking for him. I had no idea where to find him.
Dwayne was an avid boxing man, very talented. Life of the party, very charismatic, extremely passionate.
Loving, loyal, he was very cheeky.
Mental illness is costing many people their lives every single day. While I'm sitting here speaking, people are taking their life, and it's because there's people suffering in silence.
1 in 5 people suffer from some form of mental illness, and suicide's the leading cause of death between the ages of 15 and 44.
You can look for things like not getting out of bed of a morning, being socially disconnected, loss of appetite, change in mood, change in behaviour, lack of self-esteem.
Dwayne suffered from depression and bipolar for a number of years, and the stigma kept him quiet. So we wanted to turn that negative into a positive, and if the shoe was on the other foot, I'm sure Dwayne would have done the same. We're just doing what he would have done.
Hi, my name's Dan Price. I don't know where I'd be if I didn't connect with Livin, but I certainly wouldn't be as well as I am today. I was suicidal and tried to take my life on the 4th of December 2014. I was very lucky to survive. I didn't want people to know that I was struggling because of the stigmas around mental illness.
We noticed that there were plenty of great service providers in this country, but all too common people weren't seeking help because of this stigma. So we wanted to bridge that gap.
As males, we're extremely tough. We want to be the tough people, the ones that have all the answers, the ones that don't want to admit our vulnerabilities and our weaknesses.
You might not have the answers, but if you can offer support and just listen to them, that could be what they need in that moment of time.
I was an alpha male and a popular guy, and I didn't want people to think I was weak, and that's why I love the message that Livin presents, which is it ain't weak to speak.
We go all around the country, businesses, sporting clubs, teaching people that it ain't weak to speak. What we're really doing is educating them in how to speak, where to speak, and then we're educating people on how to listen and how to look for these warning signs, because without one you can't really have the other. It's all about being honest and open. If something's off, just ask them.
That's what Livin's all about, taking that stigma away and giving people hope, help, connection, and giving them the confidence to speak up and seek the help when they need it and when they deserve it.
We believe with education comes understanding, with understanding comes acceptance, and with acceptance comes hope.
I want to change the way the world understands, perceives and interprets mental health. Let's change the dynamics in which this is looked at. For far too long it's been a stigma. We're going to make this a dinner table conversation, the same way that we'd put our hand up and run for help if we had a broken leg.
Don't be afraid to have those, hard-hitting, confronting conversations, because it could save a life.
I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life, and Livin has been instrumental in changing my life for the better.
If in doubt, reach out, because there's a lot of people out there that want to help and support you making that change to get back on track to start living again.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Oceanic Nationals. I'm thoroughly excited to be back casting in the region, and we can't wait to bring you all of the action. By we, I mean myself and Raven, of course. I have to welcome you in, mate. It's an absolute pleasure to get this underway. It's our first day casting together. Casting together from way back, so it's an absolute pleasure. And how have you been, mate? It's been a while.
I have been great, Manic, and it has been a while. I was thinking about it earlier, and
it's been like since January or something that you and I have casted together. So look, I'm super excited about being able to cast with you. But of course, what are we casting? It's the Oceanic Nationals of 2020, and so far we have seen some pretty great matches.
Certainly have. Now, very quickly, before we get into any of the matches, make sure if you'd like to stay updated or you'd like to get in touch with us, you can go ahead and follow the socials or get in touch with us through the socials at Rainbow 6 ANZ is where you'll find all of that. Now, you're alluding to just then, Raven, the matches that we have seen already. I think that 4 of them, I believe, best of ones, have already been played on Wednesday night. And I think overall it was a pretty, I hate using the word stock standard night, but I think that most of the games went the way that we thought they would, if you will.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say that most of the matches went as most people would have expected, but there were some close matches at that. Elevate, in particular, got a pretty close match there, and Ferox as well, maybe against expectations to get a close match, which we'll dive into later, but you do see the standings there, the top 4 right now, Okami Wildcard, Knights, and Noble. That was the top 4 from 6 Masters 2020 to the previous season. Right now, not too much to go from, but feels like it's progressing towards what we would tend to expect.
For sure. Now, one thing I do want you to have a look at when you're looking at the screen, of course, are the qualified playoffs and the regulation playoffs. That's quite big for us. It's a massive talking point for this season, and it's something that, as viewers, I would highly recommend you keep your eyes on. I think it was 2nd or maybe it was 3rd until 7th spot in the 6 Masters, which is technically stage 1 of this, was so close that it's not even funny. We're talking a handful of points between those teams. So, you know, it's definitely something to keep your eye on where the relegations lie during the entire season. Just, I would say, mainly because of how close these teams are matched.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw a very close season in 6 Masters. There was just one outlier down there, but at the end of the day, it was a close overall season. And now that there are 2 spots that bottom end of the ladder that will have to face that relegation, so it's added pressure, and in the format of just best of ones over a relatively short season, it's going to be a constant thing in the minds of these teams.
For sure, it's something that's going to be niggling away as we go through the season, as you're saying, Raven. Let's have a look at what we've got coming up for you today, speaking of those matches, of course. So I think the first one, Ferox and Okami, that's obviously where we're going to be kickstarting in only a handful of minutes. It's not too far away at all, Raven. Did you have any match in particular you wanted to touch on before we go over it as a whole?
Look, I'm incredibly excited for all these. They all pose very surprising or alluring storylines, but I think for me, the match of the night is going to be that wild card Noble one right at the end. They are 2 of the top teams battling it out, and also there's the storyline there of Vinny on Noble now facing, Vinny on Wildcard now facing his old teammates on Noble, and I think that is going to be a really interesting matchup to watch play out.
There's definitely a lot of games that, you know, throughout the season are going to be quite interesting. Obviously, we've had pretty much every team make a roster change at one point or another, but obviously, you know, we can't kind of skim past Rhythm and Elevate. I think that both of those teams 7th and 8th respectively throughout that. So it's definitely one of those games where, you know, it's not bottom of the table by any mean. I want to make sure I make that abundantly clear. Elevate are a very good team, and Rhythm, to be honest, actually started off on a good foot last week. So these matches are still going to be very close, and it's definitely just keeping your eye on where these teams are and how they're performing throughout this season, especially with the format like you've already touched on, Raven, is just going to be absolutely crucial.
For sure, there is no chance or any time for these teams to slip, and those teams that are expecting to make playoffs in that top 6, every loss is going to be counting way against that. And if you stack to me those together, you really do face the danger zone of that bottom 2 section. Elevate's a great example. They didn't quite get the win on Wednesday against the Knights. And if they don't get the win tonight against Rhythm in particular, that's going to be a real big danger zone for them. So it does pose some really interesting storylines for these matchups coming all through the season. But yeah, as we get deeper, it gets really scary for some of those teams in the bottom ends.
Yeah, it certainly does. Relegation will loom quite deeply in the back of the mind. So let's have a look at the first matchup. Of course, we're going to see Ferox on your screens now. A team that, well, by all means had a pretty decent start to their Oceanic Nationals we're away from that one now. 5-7 against Noble last week, and this is the team lining up. Any thoughts going into this one, Raven, in terms of the team?
Look, there are some new additions from what most people are probably used to. It's Nazgul and Oda. And look, you touched on it. Ferox did go 5-7 against Noble, and that was a great performance on them on all fronts, because a lot of people are expecting Ferox to potentially even be one of those bottom two teams, just based on some of the struggles they had in the past and the fact that they have had changes. But I think they did a great job at potentially dispelling some of that last on Wednesday.
Certainly did, my friend. Now we're going to be seeing the team that they're up against. Can they back that up? That's the real question. It's Okami that they're coming up against. By all means, on paper, this should not be the case. There should be no hope for Ferox. However, we must admit we have seen some promising signs of late. Jack Daddy, Joker, Cutie, Specker, the new recruit, of course. Well, I say new recruit, technically a very old recruit to this team, Ippy Style, and Centus as that coach. I believe we've talked about him quite a few times on broadcast, especially in the reload, as well as being one of those figureheads that can bring quite a lot to this team, Raven.
Yeah, and just Okami in general, they have been a top performing team for many seasons. They ended up finishing in that top 3 contention in 6 Masters. So of course they did play in the August Oceanic Major. They didn't quite get the results that they were hoping to at that major. So here they are, they've added Specker back into the roster. And if he can bring that additional step up for them, that extra strength, maybe we will see an Okami can challenge against Wildcard for even top spot here in Oceania.
I am kind of excited to see what Specker can do on this roster. Obviously, we haven't been able to see too much of him over the past 12 to 18 months, sorry. So him coming into this roster will be something to keep an eye on, to say the very least. I want to very quickly, before we go to maps or anything like this, these two teams meeting right now. Last time they played, it was 2 incredibly close series, Raven.
Yeah, and look, if you have been in touch with the broadcast for the last 20 or so minutes during the countdown, you would have seen a legacy match from the 6 Masters from these guys, and that was an 8-6 victory to Ferox on Coastline. So Ferox do have what it takes to beat Okami, based on the history at least. So it's definitely a tight matchup between the two, and while it seems like we are leaning towards Okami seemingly to be the front runner here, I think Ferox do have what it takes to at least put up a good challenge.
Now, I'm going to ask you very quickly before we bring them up on the screens, where do you think the map is going to lie? Because if you're saying Ferox have a good opportunity here to at least do some damage, what map do you think they're going to be looking at?
Look, I think that's one beautiful thing about roster changes, is that your map pool can actually dramatically change, and that's definitely something that's going to work in the favor of Ferox. Maybe an essence of unpredictability, or just harder to read for Okami and harder for them to prep for. All Okami really have is Villa, which Ferox played pretty well on last night against Noble, Wednesday night, sorry. So I don't think Villa will go based on that. It is a good map for Okami, but I'm thinking maybe Clubhouse, maybe Coastline might come through.
Well, let's have a look. Let's bring them up on the screen, and we'll dive into them a little bit deeper as we get through those band stages. Consulate and Cafe off first, that followed by Coastline, Oregon, Theme Park, and Clubhouse. We're headed to Villa, my friends. What are your thoughts around this?
Look, I thought that maybe Ferox might lean into keeping that away, because that is the map they showed on Wednesday, and so something that would have been a strength of Ferox is, like I said, maybe just a bit more difficulty prepping for. This is the only map that Okami could prep for, and so now they probably have a bit of an idea for what to expect. So Ferox, for example, were doing a lot of front outs and a lot of spawn peeking, and some of that stuff was really catching Noble off guard. I dare say I don't think that will work as well against Okami, based on the fact they know to expect it.
So heading in, I do like to get a quick prediction. You're obviously saying that on one hand, Okami's already been kind of able to see what they can pull out on this map on Villa. Do you think that this will be I think that the best question for me right now, is this a close match, considering we are going to Villa? Or do you think that Okami are really coming out strong in this one?
I think this favors Okami.
Yep.
In terms of the fact it's going back to Villa. I still think Ferox will probably put up a good showing on it, but I just think that something that would have worked so well for them, that unpredictability or just maybe a little bit difficulty to read, is not going to work as well. That being said, there's a total opportunity right now for Ferox to say, you know what, Villa, we're actually really strong at. We can back it up against Okami, and maybe Okami are putting some false confidence in the fact that they watched that match on Wednesday.
Well, let's hope that they are. Let's have a look at what you guys think at home to see what the vote is saying. To be honest, I was expecting a little bit more toward Okami there, but I think that is somewhat of a fair representation. I think it's kind of like a 1 in 3 chance for Ferox to take this. That, again, I want to make sure that I'm making this clear. I don't think that is any representation of Ferox as a team. I think that's more leaning towards Okami's ability.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue, right? Okami have been a top contending team for many seasons back to back down here. And they've gone through different iterations of rosters, but they've managed to always stay in touch top end. And then they finished Six Masters really strong in that top 3, and they played off in that major. So I think it's really hard to bet against them. There are some things coming from Ferox that people might not be expecting, but at the end of the day, it is hard to look past that whole strength factor of Okami and the consistency factor.
Well, I think that's on the reload we were talking about our predictions for this. We'll bring them up, the experts' opinion on all of the matches. Okami all the way. It is a straight flush from Raven to Ducky, and I don't think that too many would disagree with this. Obviously, these predictions are done before the Playday on Wednesday, so look, to be honest, had Ferox have come out and taken down Noble and really given it a good shot, potentially we may have seen something a little bit different there from the Snowball experts. But I really do want to emphasize that this should be Okami through and through. Again, it sometimes is never the way that we want it to be, though, is it?
Yeah, of course. Sometimes upsets happen in this best of 1 format with overtime. Sometimes you will get that edge in the map veto, and just getting a particular map through might be just enough for your team to have the confidence or the strength to pull off that upset. So of course that's always going to be a chance tonight. But I guess analytically and statistically looking at this, it's really hard, like I was saying before, to just not feel confidence in Okami being able to get this win. And on top of that, if they really are trying to prove that they are stepping it up the spectrum of the roster and they are a top 2 or even the top team, if they're trying to take the spot off wildcard, these are the matches they need to win. It's not always the tough ones against wildcard. Like, they need to secure these points.
Now, we were talking very quickly before the broadcast started, as commentators do. We were kind of alluding to potential role changes maybe playing into a weakness for Okami. Not necessarily a weakness. This could technically be a strength if you look at it from that side. It kind of depends how you want to view this through the mirror, rather through the glass. But I do feel as though it could potentially make things a little bit more interesting for Ferox. I'm not going full on the Ferox camp yet, because I love an underdog, but at the same time, I also think that Okami have proved themselves. However, there is still that possibility, and we always do kind of lean into it, especially at the start of the season, especially when things can really go wrong. I mean, I'm not going to say to go wrong, but this is potentially when we see a lot of those really close matches kind of play effect. So how do you think that the role changes are going to affect Okami?
Look, again, it is a bit tricky to say. It looked like in their first game that it had worked out pretty decent. So, for example, Specker being the newer player in or returning, he had looked like he'd taken over Joker's old roles, if I'm not wrong, and he looked comfortable on that. So I don't think it'll be too big of a deal for them.
Well, there is one opportunity for Ferox to take down Okami, and likewise the other way around. It is an important best of 1 to get started this season. Okami taking on Ferox. It'll be Okami starting on the defensive side. And of course, as always, good luck, have fun.
Absolutely. It's important to get that out, right? That sportsmanship. But I think Villa is going to be holding something pretty surprising for us, Rob. I mean, I still feel confident in Okami, but look, Ferox did play pretty well on it against Snowball. It's hard to look past that. And now with this ace ban out, it does make things, I guess, a touch tricky with hard breach, but being the Shadow Legacy patch, there is an abundance of hard breach options out there now. Yes,
and that's one thing that we had a really good discussion about on Late Night Siege, I believe it was, Raven, kind of talking about the opportunities now for teams to bring a little bit more diversity to the roles that they have, mainly because of the fact that you have so many opportunities to open things up. Thatcher and Valkyrie to follow. Intel denying from Thatcher, and well, a lot of intel gathering that Valk will no longer be able to bring for that defensive side.
I think great bans from Ferox there, the Thatcher and the Valkyrie. I mean, Thatcher is such a helpful attacker, being able to deny some of that wall denial, just disable it temporarily these days with his EMP grenade change. But also, it's what Specker played a lot of on Clubhouse on Wednesday. And Valkyrie is also an operator that we have seen played a lot by Okami in general, but I remember back in the Specker glory days, lots of Valkyrie played. So maybe that is potentially a target ban, helpful on Villa regardless, just having less intel on the defense. It really does help attack progress a little bit. You don't have to worry about checking every little corner for those little cams.
Yeah, makes things a little bit more spicy, if you will. So we'll have a look whether we're really going to see much of the impact in that first round as we head to dining and kitchen. No 6 picks in the last phase. As we head in to prep, a lot of questions surrounding Ferox after their I would say, surprising performance against Noble in the 7-5 loss. As weird as that does sound, we still didn't expect it to be that close, but we do still have a lot of questions for Ferox, and I think that this is kind of where they can answer some of them. Not necessarily going to outright say it is, but this would be a great place to start. Are they going to get off running, or will it be slow in mud, a stick in mud, if you will? Okami has that effect, so I wouldn't be totally surprised.
Yeah, and look, I think it's a great point that we really didn't have massive expectations of Ferox coming into Playday 1 especially, but they put up a great fight against Noble, and I mean, maybe that tells more about Noble than it does Ferox. That's something that we'll find out later, but it's going to give Ferox some confidence coming into this game that they can back it up a bit. Again, Villa, they played that on Wednesday. Maybe it's going to make them comfortable. They feel like they've just played it so recently. It might work well for them. We're going to find out a bit here in this round. I do want to point out, Sushi has brought the Yana. We've seen bits and pieces of the Yana. Can be a really effective operator on attack, and I think the firepower on Ferox, it could really help them just gain more comfortable entries.
Speaking of entries, Nazgul, they've wasted no time in taking bathroom control. Ippy style just on the other side in toward Astro, as well as Ippy Cutie, or rather just Cutie. I think that has thrown off every single commentator so far, honestly.
Yes, it has.
Come on, man. What you doing this for?
Look, there's 3 Ippies on that team, so quite the little clan there now. But no, Jack Daddy, Ippy Style, who was the OG Ippy, by the way, and then Cutie. That's the real names there. But look, Matic, half the round almost gone here.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of pressure done onto site. Master has been taken though, which is a good map control at least for the attack here. It looks like they're going to try and focus on getting this main wall into stat open, but they're having some difficulties with that mute channel.
Holding back from Ippy Style there. Managing to burn through a lot of the ADSs. Nazgul's pushed into Astro as well, unspotted. Don't think it will be too much of a concern. Will be cuter to go through as Joker picks up one with that Nitro. Shade managing to find a trade somewhere else. Unfortunately, Ippy Style won't be able to stand for too much longer. Only a minute left, and they have started to burn through this top floor. It only leaves 2 on the side of Okami. But Specker's making sure that at least there's a chance in this one, Raven.
Even more sure, because he's the last one left now for Okami against 3 of Ferox. It was a great entry above to gain that control, and again, maybe assisted by that Yana Sushi. Didn't quite see where the Gemini was utilized. But regardless, they're giving themselves now 30 seconds. Only one to find, of course, Specker. He's full HP on site, holding a nice angle in kitchen. But here it is, this Gemini. Not going to be effective because that door's closed. Maybe check that first.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Now, Specker, what can he do? Can he stand up for Okami? Only his second game. And nope, not a chance. Oda steps up strong. I saw a lot of love in the chat for Oda last Playday, and I am not surprised if I see it in there today. Nice first round from Team Ferox, all things considered, Raven.
Yeah, look, big round from them. Opening it up, of course, the pressure might be on them, repeating Villa. Okami, strong team, but they did not look like they were really feeling it that much. Oda in particular, he was super confident with his entry into stat, which is really what gave them that vertical control they needed at that stage. So big props to him getting the 3K on that round. So far, you know, Ferox looking pretty good in their attacks.
See whether this is a trend or not as we head to AVG. Obviously, not too interested in sticking around on that same side. I feel like we've talked about this before in the ANZ region about the fact that teams more often than not are actually happy to continue to try a certain site, whereas I feel like it's not as much the case overseas. Please correct me if I'm wrong there.
Yeah, look, we see a bit on and off. I think the one that really sticks out in mind to me of a team that has comfort in repeating bomb sites is like Cyclops Gaming from APAC North. They had definitely done that in the past, but yeah, these days we really do see a lot more just rotation through sites. Seems like it's a bad omen to try and just stick it.
Yeah.
You might do it in a scrim because you're like, oh yeah, I know what the problem is there. We can fix that. But when it comes down to the competitive play or the officials, no, it's better just to rotate it, keep that the attackers or the other team guessing, that kind of thing.
For sure, and I would also add on to that and say that that's where you want to be doing it in scrims. That's where you have to be doing it, is trying to figure out whether it is viable for you to make those changes in competitive play when you are playing these officials. So, Todd at the moment, pulling across toward the Astros side, but doesn't look like he's going to be met by anyone yet. However, as he starts to drone out, he will be given the information. He will be fed. Spec Up is not too far away, just sitting top red and making his way back towards site. Looks relatively safe there. Joker still just having a bit of a trot downstairs. Now starting to make a little bit more leeway here though, Ferox.
Yeah, I mean, this is incredible progress. It's only the first minute counted down and they've got some solid line of sight in towards the bar games room there. So that's going to be tricky now for Okami to be able to hold this out for the remaining time of the clock. It's usually the safe zone is when you're attacking your side. If you can deny those study walls for as long as possible, you can generally have 2 to 3 people hang out on site. But now that's going to be a lot more complicated. It's a great spot for Ferox now, and it means that there's a bit more pressure on Okami to try and execute some kind of roam or some kind of aggressive peeks out from the site.
Todd having his toes tickled there from Cutie, looking through the drone hole. So obviously that's pretty much that in Nazgul. The only damage that's really been done, as you've already mentioned though, a lot of leeway into the site. That'll be Jack Daddy taking shade off the board to begin with. Habana has done her job though, which allows the rest of Team Ferox to potentially look deep into those sites and take those more kindly inclined fights.
Okay, I gotta credit Okami. They've done a great job stalling out Ferox a little bit here, just with some suppressive fire, pre-firing in angles, just to stop Ferox from feeling confident to progress up. And now QB timing these smoke waves perfectly means that it's going to end up being a little bit more explosive than Ferox potentially have the opportunity to. Spectre fights back to get Sushi off the board. Okami with a great man advantage now just in the final 30 seconds. Diffuser down there at the top of red stairs. Looks like a great round for Okami at the moment, Manic.
They are going to need to pick up the pace and try and find at least one frag to even things, well, not even even things out, just give them somewhat of a hope. There's absolutely no chance as Oda tries to make his way in. A flawless round. Okami, we were criticizing the earlier round from them, but they definitely fix it up toward the end, Raven.
Absolutely. They, Ferox made such great progress on Study War. I don't think it's particularly common that you would get Study Wall open so quickly. You usually have a lot of wall denial or impact tricking, a lot of things available to just stop that wall getting opened so early. But even when it was open, Okami just did a great job not letting Ferox feel comfort with that control. Jack Daddy got looked like it would have been a long line of sight all the way from the back of games through to that study balcony to open up the card there.
Yep.
So that was a really important kill. And then, like I said, just a lot of that pre-firing, suppressive fire. It stopped Ferox from progressing, created that stall. It was really good from Okami.
Definitely felt like they were happy to take those fights. You know? more than happy to, regardless of whether it was a mistake, whether it was planned or calculated. It definitely felt like the right response from Okami, and now they will be heading to the other side of the top floor to stat. And I think all in all, that first round might have just been a write-off from Okami, and it definitely, especially, I mean, like, you know, a flawless round is pretty obvious to say, oh yeah, that'll be fine, things are all right. But I feel like even more so when you're able to claw it back from what looked like a deficit, showing good signs from Okami earlier stages of the Oceanic Nationals.
Attackers are heading out to defuse a bomb.
Yeah, definitely a bit of a feels good man moment. Shade has a cheeky drone on site. Looks like they're actually around the back of the bomb, so that might come back to bite Okami if they don't manage to find it. Right now they are holding up around bathroom and Astro stairs. Jack Day just placing down this last banshee, it looked like. Specker on a solid roam down the bottom of basement. So look, Ferox going to have to be careful about that because he can sneak up even just to that first floor. Some of those cheeky C4s in Master really cause some trouble.
I don't know whether Oda was able to catch the backside there. I don't think he was, but so far so good for the roamers. They haven't found anything, but nor have they been taken out. It's Specker just sitting, waiting for Oda to start to make somewhat of a play. Laundry now being taken under control as the balcony. They may start to toy with bedroom a little bit, but oh, Jack Daddy might be able to find a free kill. You bet your bottom dollar he will. Todd does find a trade in the meantime, but Jack and Joker will be able to find one apiece or three early stages of round 3.
Yeah, I just think a massive oversight from Ferox there, just not to have somebody on the balcony holding the bricks door there. Allow Jack Daddy to get that Specker into the fray. Gets Todd. Only 2 left for Ferox. This is starting to fall apart. Look, they had a great opening round, but Okami are just not being bullied right now. Playing with confidence and freedom at that. It's going to be tough to be able to pull this back for Ferox in this round now.
Definitely felt like that was potentially a great opportunity to catch Specker on the rotate back to red stairs, but just a little bit too sharp. Man's been putting in the hours so far. They still need to be cautious of Cutie rather on the Astro stairs. Making a lot of noise now, Cutie. This should almost be a free kill depending on how he decides to swing. Sushi's still holding. It'll come out. It's not going to really play any effect to Cutie. And the free kill comes as the grenade was a false sense of security. In a 1v4, there's not much hope here for Shade.
Like, gonna be tough. Gets a nice shot onto Specker though. Makes 3 to find. Has to fuse it back, but this Banshee is not going to be great for him. He's now been spotted in the bathroom. Up to Cutie to try and close this, but doesn't get the shots. Actually, Ippy style gets the shots. Closes out for Okami. Great round in the end from them. I think Ferox didn't really look in it after they lost those first 2. So Okami is starting to run back over the top of them.
I mean, it definitely felt like they were in control, Raven. There was never really a moment of doubt. And Jack Daddy and Joker both opening up the round, as you were alluding to earlier, just kind of made their job all that much easier. And had potentially they'd caught out Specker on the rotate back to site, maybe there's a chance it goes back to 3-3. Things get a little bit more interesting, but it's definitely looking pretty safe and sound for Okami as they head to the site in which they failed previously, dining and kitchen.
Yeah, see if they can make some improvements on that first round. Ferox looked so comfortable on round 1, and ever since then, just have not looked at all comfortable. In fact, they've only had one frag since that first round. It's only been a few since, but regardless, I think Okami, maybe they just took a round to warm up. They're looking very comfortable and confident at the moment. I think it's a real danger territory for Ferox. They need to just stay in touch in this attack half. Try not to let it claw out to a 1-5, because that is quite the deficit to have to fight back from.
No matter how comfortable are you on your defensive side, it's only one round, isn't it? And all of a sudden you're forced to play for OT and things just get a little bit too stressful. So how will
heading out to the
Okami
diffuser bomb.
adapt. It looks like they are going to be playing very similar. There's still the heavy roam upstairs. For now, anyway. Jack Daddy and Specker anchoring on sites.
Does look like Ferox have decided it worked well for us in round 1. Let's do it again. This, Yana is a heavy lean for Ferox. They have brought this very consistently, and Okami are there to contest, which is great. And I was going to say one thing that Okami could even try to do is just be a little more aggressive around Master, because it was the early Master control that didn't make holding the top floor a bit tricky. They were never really able to get stat wall open. Again, this mute channel was a bit of a pain for them last time. It looks like it still is going to be. But it's about stopping that entry. It was just Oda walking through that brick doorway into statue that enabled Ferox to get that control.
For sure. And also, you know, the pressure Nazgul was able to apply from Astro, it kind of just put a little bit of doubt. And the second there's a bit of doubt, you need to be a little bit more careful. I think I just saw Okami back to site, and they have done as well. They've folded their cards. They're happy for Ferox to waste as much time as humanly possible up there. Whether Team Ferox have figured this one out or not, they surely will, with Todd and Sushi now making their way. Astro's clear. Stats clear, and they'll start to work on that vertical pressure.
And that's the beauty of the Gemini of Sushi just there. He just ran through site so comfortably, and he got all that info so quick. So now that they have a lot of time to use this vertical control, and this is where it's going to be tricky for Okami. Do they all sit on side and try and anchor, or do they try and retake that top floor, which can be tricky? On top of that, Ferox are bringing the air jabs. So you have to think about that when you're trying to rotate. You might not be able to get back upstairs. I think this next 30 seconds in particular very critical for Okami to be able to hang on, or Ferox to be able to get that man advantage.
Specker could absolutely dominate here if he's able to do so. He'll find at least one. No, he won't, actually. I thought potentially he might have been able to catch someone moving through, but Ferox starting to pick up the pace a little bit more. They are safe and sound for now as they make a little bit more leeway to the site.
Oh, the flank though into Laundry, Ippy style. Big flank there. It's finally refragged by Sushi. But with 30 seconds to go, it does destabilize things a little bit. Sushi is down there by himself. They will have to rotate. Jack Daddy finds one onto Shade. Okami starting to claw back the advantage, man. With 15 seconds, gonna have to start getting this plant down.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Oda manages to catch a free one on Specker, who was not expecting that at all. Sushi now might be able to stick this, has the support of Todd as well. I don't think Hippie Cutie will be able to get around the corner safely. No, he won't as well. The last two players for Okami are low. Todd's going off right now, and there's absolutely nothing to stop Todd with a 3K in a post-plant situation.
Beautifully covered from Todd, and just the aggression and the confidence when he whipped the pistol. Beautifully done. Love that. Ferox clawed it back, and again, this is them staying in touch. Okami, on the other hand, well, it sounds like kitchen dining is just doomed for them.
It doesn't make a difference whether they hold strong or whether they back away from that top floor defense. They just...
Attackers are activating.
No cigar, my dude. No matter how close it is. That was always going to be the issue with Ibby Cutie, or rather Cutie. God damn it, this is going to do me in the rest of the broadcast, isn't it? It's the problem with when Cutie's peaking there, mainly because of how low the rest of his team are, right? There's very, very little chance for a refrag in that position, but I guess you've got to make a play one way or another, Raven.
That's right, and I think a real critical moment for Okami there is just that Specker unfortunately didn't make that impact on the flank that he really could have. Like you were ready to say, he would have got, or could have got, at least one. Honestly, I was going to see him getting a double kill from that. They were not prepared for his flank up through the statue. There were multiple players there getting that vertical control, not even looking anywhere near the doorway. That really could have opened it up, and it would have changed the round completely. But Ferox, they managed to scrape by. He couldn't get the shots clean, and look, it got them around, so it's 2-2.
That's it, and it just gives them a little bit more of a leg up. Obviously, in that 7-5 against Noble, it was quite close up until the last breath that Noble took, or rather that Ferox took, if I'm being completely honest. But this could be headed toward a very similar affair Obviously, last time these two teams met in Six Masters in the previous season, it was 7-8 on Clubhouse in favor of Okami, backed up by 8-6 on Coastline by Team Ferox. So these two teams are, you know, maybe not necessarily they were close on the ladder of last season, but I don't think that really makes a difference at the end of the day, Raven.
No, and look, that was a great use of Carly's lance there from Shade. Seeing some Carly come out, so wall denial is going to be a lot easier for them to deal with. Carly, a great alternative to the Thatcher, who is banned, of course. A little bit slower than last time, Manic. We praised Ferox a lot for getting study control early and opening the walls in towards Bar. Todd on this Monte, though, he's just going to push through.
Oh,
Not protecting Nazgul well enough, though.
No, I mean, that's a fair peek from Sushi, I guess. That's one way to do it around the corner. But, I mean, one apiece there. Nazgul, unfortunately, trying to play behind Todd just by the safety of Monty was no longer the safety at all. It's not the case. And now with that hard breach really down, they are going to have to make things a little bit more complicated. In comes Ping 2.0. I won't find anything just yet, but it is pre-prepped, and pre-placed. So it just needs to be cautious.
And maybe just a little over-aggressive from Nazgul. Maybe not the right player to be peeking that. I think Sushi was the right choice to follow it up, but Nazgul being the only hard breacher does mean that this is going to be a little bit trickier. Shade has found Joker, though. It's the Malusi off the board. And that means that they will have a man advantage in this final minute. Banshee's in the way, so they'll have to leverage their soft breach, which they don't really have a whole lot of. Maybe Shade still has some lances, but it is something they are lacking quite a bit right now.
Please do correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was also the C4 that was prepped across to 90. Well, Sushi, you got to catch them all sometimes. Poor Spec up. He'll be on the receiving end of that. In comes the Smoke Babe. That'll force them back for a moment longer, but will they be able to hold out for long enough? It's a 2 versus 4 here, Raven. I'm not really liking their chances for Okami.
Gonna be tough. 2 Smoke Babes in the pocket of Cutie, and he's not getting them out anywhere near quick enough. It looks like Okami don't have the right intel. Player confirms. Oh, 4 versus 2 postman. This really is going to be tough for Okami.
And just the big old shield, the big old droney boy. He'll sit there in the doorway. Shade, actually a really great round to change to completely change the tides, Raven, after the hard breach in Habana went down so early on in Nazgul. I think Ferox just able to outsmart Okami.
I mean, it's a great point that Habana was the first casualty for Ferox. So they weren't able to get line of sight like they had before or through games, which didn't really, I mean, it didn't work out for them in the end. But at the same time, that should be a strength for Okami. It means they just have to watch those doorways. And they're such narrow funnel points. Montaigne definitely facilitated that. And it was well watched from Shade. But at the same time, I just think maybe Cutie could have had a lot more of an impact with that smoke. Just keeping Montaigne out of the way. And just enabled them to have a little bit more freedom on site to try and work some picks so that Ferox never got in that position or the advantage to get planted down.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how many Smoke Babes they had. I think it was 35 seconds and the first one came out, and I just assumed that they had potentially already used one because I think the second one didn't come out until relatively late, like you're alluding to there, Raven, and potentially it came out too little too late, but they will be re-attempting for Okami, and hopefully this time, if they're able to catch Ferox sleeping in terms of, you know, Nazgul going down so early, there might be an opportunity to make things a little bit closer than what it was in that previous round.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I'm thinking back to the Smoke Babe situation. I said Cutie had 2 in the pocket when the plant started going down.
Okay.
And I think like that's critical, and he didn't have the right info either, and that can come back to this Valkyrie ban that we saw from Ferox. I said that it's an operator that Okami have definitely used a lot of, Spec particularly in the past, a lot of Valkyrie play, so maybe they just haven't found that gap in their intel gathering. They're not playing an operator like Maestro, for example, who is pretty good operator on Villa, plus in general, and those Evil Eyes can be a great intel collection thing, so something they might have thought about in the future to supplement their lineup.
Sure. I'd love to actually get the stats on that as well to see how effective rather that ban was for Vault, because I think you'd be spot on in assuming that it has definitely played quite a detrimental effect to Okami's defense. But they will be looking for a very similar approach here, Team Ferox. Yeah, looking for that early study control. It be style as well. Too interested. Will looks like might be forced to back away from the angle here. Fire comes out. Nothing's confirmed, but I think that's pretty successful from Todd, all things considered.
It really is. It's a very effective way of clearing out the top of the brown stairs there, and that means that Okami just don't have much control at all around the classical hallway. They do still have 90, which would be a great control for Ferox to have, but right now they don't necessarily need it. They're in a good position. They've still got their hard breach. It's like you said, if they can get the line of sight open, it's probably a step up last time. So I think, again, this is looking like a good round for Ferox. And I tell you what, if they come out of this with a 4-2 half on attack on Villa against Okami right now, they might be looking good for the dub here.
I couldn't agree more with you, and that could be a serious concern. It looks like they've retaken 90, obviously getting droned out. You can see on the far side there, Ippy Style will be forced to back away once more to the top of red, potentially fold into games. Specker still on that underside of the A site, could potentially play quite an effect. Todd just watching from games. And in come the openings from Nazgul. First one from Classic directly to behind bars.
Attackers have located a bomb.
Bugs though, so might not be able to get through there. That's going to be the opening pick for Sushi. It is refragged though by Cutie. Makes it a 3 versus 3, 15 seconds. Manic. It's going to be fought back from Shade though. Again, he's going big for Ferox. They're getting smoked out of sight though. Finally, it's being effective. You have to rotate around. Todd just yeets through it. He's not going to bother waiting. It's going to be to his detriment. They've got 1 second to get this diffuser down. Naz has to stick this right now.
Oh, the cover!
Shade on the cover. Beautiful. Triple kill from Joker. Doesn't see the planter. Nazgul clutches it out for Ferox. 4-2 lead.
Wow, that was not expected. Todd making such a good distraction in Aviator there. It pulled all of the attention away from Okami. They were purely focused on not allowing that plant to go down. And in fact, sneaky beaky like Team Ferox, happy to give them the candy, sell the fake, and I mean, that play from Nazgul right at the end, just off diffuser, and in time to pop some heads. That is a huge half, and not to be understated for Team Ferox.
It is. This is, look, I think scary zone now for Okami. They are on their attack half, and we haven't said it yet, but generally people consider Villa to lean a little bit on the defense. We're starting to see it balance out a bit more. 4-2 halves are pretty common, but you would expect that to be on the defense side. So the fact that Ferox have had such strong attacks, and honestly, defenses where Ferox, I felt, excelled against Noble on Wednesday. So I really think this is a scary time for Okami. They're going to dig deep now and get some really solid attacks, because I think even if they just lose this one round, facing that 2-5 deficit would be yeah, not great at all.
This is quite the interesting turn of events in the first match on Playday 2, Raven. Not something that we would have predicted. Well, it's actually something that not many people would have. So I think that's credit where credit is due for Team Ferox. But, as always, they 100% need to be able to back it up here. And it looks like that may start with Shade and Oda looking for a bit of damage from below. Maybe some time wasting included.
Maybe. Sushi on the alibi as well. It's giving some good intel on that repel player on Astro window. Means Cutie not going to be too comfortable to peek that just yet. Right in the face as well. So he's going to have to get that barricade open. And they're either going to have to get the bathroom control to clear it, or he's going to have to repel upside down to shoot the bottom. Does finally do so. And it's just all building to a stall here in this first minute. They've been able to get a little bit of info, but not a lot of control. Specker has something else to say about that, though. He takes out Oda.
Cheeky shank from behind. Whether Oda was even able to fight against that. Specker with a double opening as Nazgul falls. 3 players left. Actually, only 1 on site right now. And Specker will just continue to be a pain in the backside. Jack Daddy catches shade as he looks to come back around. And it's not going to be shown at all. Sushi's forced off the angle. Raven, oh my word.
Attackers have dropped the bomb diffuser.
Oh, yikes. Yep, looks like it's going to be a solid finish. It is Okami. Never looked in doubt on that round, really. Once they got those opening 2 picks from Specker, it was just all over for Ferox, looking too strong, Okami on it. And this is what they needed, Manic. They needed the statement round on their attacks. They needed to start clawing this back, give themselves that confidence and that belief.
It has to start somewhere, and in all honesty, I potentially thought those last 2 rounds may have caused some amount of doubt for Okami, but they have shown full well that that's not the case. We'll be seeing the clash being 6 picked off for the Maestro on Sushi, so potentially, as we were talking about before, Raven, good intel gathering operator, and our fam Valk is no longer in play due to bans.
That's right, so see whether they can leverage that extra intel, see what strategy they're going to be using for that. Do want to say that Okami bringing it back to the stakes, right? Like they're vying for a top spot here, potentially even bigger than a wild card. And right now, they're just not looking like that. So I think this is they've got to summon something big here and try and bring out this, because this should be their match if they want to be in that top 2 position.
Yep. I don't know who that tweet was from. It looked like a real random, but I definitely agree with you there.
Yeah, it was.
5 seconds left before insertion.
It was like Devil Ada? Devil. Oh wait, Dev Mata, the commentator.
Oh, that guy. I almost forgot who that guy was. Oh, thanks for reminding me though, mate.
That's alright.
Yeah.
That's alright. That's hilarious. Dev, we love you. We love you. But there is no doubt in anyone's mind right now that this is quite the surprise, or at least the first half was quite the surprise from Team Ferox. And
Totally.
we really are going to call upon them here, because Okami, we know, have the ability to really bring this back. We know that they have that firepower, and I really do want to look to Team Ferox and ask, where are you going to pull it from, right? Where is that extra storage? Where's that next gear that you can kick into? Just for reference, in 6 Masters, both of these teams, so Okami had 9 close matches. That is relatively close in terms of the full regulation time. They were able to win 6 of those 9 games, whereas Ferox were only able to convert 2 of 7 close games. So I think that this right now is a very interesting question to be asking of Ferox, is where is it coming from? And that may be it, Raven. That might be the spot.
That was a solid shot from Shade. Looked like Specker had all that info from the drone. You saw the yellow pings coming out. He just narrowly missed getting that wall bang. So honestly, Shade was a little bit lucky to still be alive. But yeah, look, beautiful flick. It means that he can just hold his roam here. It looked like he was going to be going back up the stairs as well. Didn't. So it's something that Okami still have to think about droning out. And time is ticking away. They're almost down to this last minute. They have not got a lot of map control.
Oda nearly got a haircut there. Hippie style, giving them out for free at the moment. Daddy as well. They'll now start to approach Aviator with Hippie style really being the prone attack here. And Ferox not really looking to take any of those initial fights to begin with, we'll say. Still have that one roaming underneath as well, which could be a serious pain in the backside for Okami.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, Jack Daddy, he could be in danger here. He's the one that's still downstairs for Okami. Seems confident that nobody else is with him at least. Shade can really have a big impact. C4 goes out, misses the mark though. Ipistyle taken low. I think that was the player at least that copped part of that. Now in the final 20 seconds, I think this is going to be really hectic for Okami to have to try and get this plant down.
This has to be explosive, Raven. There's no other way about it. He'll be taken down from, well, the vertical play of Shade. Itby will be able to take down Oda. The deny from Itby with 2 kills. Surely the defenders. Todd. Was that the clutch?
Yep.
Oh, Todd.
Yeah, he got the denial on the plant there, Manic. So at the end of the day, it didn't matter how hard Cutie was going on that denial. The plant didn't go down. So Ferox do get that round. Quite the nail biter. And look, by all rights, I think that definitely should have been in a Ferox round. Okami just didn't have enough control here. It didn't look like it was going to be clean. It's right there that Todd gets that C4 denial in that final 2 seconds. So they could not recover the defuse.
Run out of time.
So well played from Ferox. Again, they looked solid on that whole round. I would have been surprised if Okami got it. And now Ferox, look, really importantly, 1 round away from, at minimum, forcing overtime. And, like, I was not expecting this to be an overtime map. I thought close, but probably not overtime.
I feel sorry for Cutie, man.
He was going off.
He was
ran out of steam, ran out of time.
I really thought that was going to be the play. I think that we can probably highlight Shade's performance for Team Ferox right now, sitting at the top of the leaderboard across both teams, but also what we do have to highlight is the effectiveness of both of these teams in full. I think that there's not really been too many rounds where it's been a landslide, Raven. I think I can only remember the one from Okami in the flawless round. I believe it was the second round. Other than that, though, it's been somewhat close, and it's been coming down to a lot of these early fights. Shade, what are you doing? Cheeky beaky.
Oh, what, Manic? You mean you don't hang out under a desk just like it's normal? Like, that's what I do.
To be honest, that's what I'm doing right now. No one can see me behind the camera, but I'm literally under the desk.
Me too, bro. Me too.
I don't know why, I thought that gas was for something serious. And I was like, what have I missed?
Absolutely not.
I'm so confused. Shady boy, you are just sneaky beaky.
Gotta say, that is classic Shade though, right? There's definitely something he is well known for. It's just his mid-round flanks or some of his random flanks. So again, this is just something that Okami have to be ready for. I touched on it, you know, this is the map that Ferox played on Wednesday. So we saw a lot of, I think Nazgul was one in particular, lots of spawn peaks and lots of runouts. Maybe Okami ready for that, but maybe that drew their attention away from being prepared for these really strange flanking opportunities that Ferox do love to go for.
Shade is in a very good position to be able to do so as well. You can see him now creeping around in the basement. Don't know how much he's going to be able to find early in the round at the very least. Haven't opened up the pantry soft enforcement, so if you will. Back daddy. Will Shade find something here? Surely not.
I mean, look, it feels like it's building towards that, but it is all about timing. He's trying to be careful. Speaking of timing, Oda times C4 to get Cutie as a big pick because he's been playing quite strong for Okami on the sledge. So looking good for Ferox right now. Specker is probably the one in most danger of Shade. He could come up behind in the Astro stairs. This could be the round. Naz taken out by Joker. 4 versus 4, Manic.
Oh, I think he's hurt him. Oh, Shade, no. That's dirty. He will trade out Nazgul that falls. And it was all for naught for Okami. I guess they've got something to work with now. They're still going to be careful of the player in Astro. Jack Daddy trying to pre-fire around the corner, but it's Oda. Once again on the side of Team Ferox. Joker just has too many lines to deal with. And not enough time to trade it. But Ipystyle, what can you pull out of the rabbit's hat? Rather than the magician's hat.
Yeah, and it's just about Ferox. They're going to have to try and play patient here because Ipystyle, he has to play it. Depends on the info they've got. He's going for this. He's not sticking it though. It's a bait. He's going to try and hold the angle around stat. Todd is going to peek pre-fire to try and get him off. He's going to stick it, but the C4 from Shade closes it out for Ferox. That moves them to match point, Manic. Looking like this is Villa for Team Ferox.
Something that none of us were really expecting. I know the community poll said 33%, and I know Team Ferox as an organization have quite a few fans, but many would have foreseen this as being a potential possibility, an outcome, and yet we sit here, Raven, saying it is almost inevitable. They have played extremely well tonight, and the post-match interviews are going to be interesting. I'm quite intrigued to hear from Okami's side as to what they think have gone wrong.
Yeah, absolutely, me too. You can totally have an off night. Maybe this is just an off night for them. Maybe they have Friday curse. You know, maybe Wednesdays are just better for them. Friday is no great, but we'll wait and see. At the end of the day, the overall surprise here is the Ferox are looking really good right now. They are getting the picks when they need them. Shade is still walking around undetected for I don't know how many seasons in a row, but this man just manages to get flanks every match I watch. And look at him, he's on 11-6 right now. He was very instrumental in that previous round in particular. Ferox, color me surprised. We were speaking on the reload on Tuesday, Manic, that we thought maybe Ferox would be down in bottom two with the likes of Rhythm, but here they are, potentially about to steal a map off a top 3 team.
Would not have been thought through for many of us, and I think that it really just goes to show the quality of teams that we have in the Oceanic Nationals, and I really do attest that to how far they've come. Shade, not again! He finds one and gets away with it. Does he know there's a second Shade? He can't be doing this. You cannot be doing this. You are dismantling Okami right now. And they have been left absolutely gobsmacked.
Yes. Look, that is just nail in the coffin kind of stuff here, Matic, I think. Losing Itby Style and Jack Daddy so soon to the play like that from Shade. Oh boy, that's it's not gonna feel great. 3 players for Okami. They got 2 minutes to go. I have faith they could claw this back, but I think it's unlikely.
Well, simple math will tell you that it is very unlikely at this point. And obviously Sushi getting a fair bit of information on this. It's going to be Joker pushing Pantry, sorry. Drone getting enough information. Just needs to be careful of the C4 that's inevitably coming. Does take cover in the corner of Pantry for now.
Yep, just gonna wait. They do have a lot of time, but it's gonna be difficult for them to get control, just lacking that man advantage. There's a lot of drones they've missed as well. Gonna be able to get picks, but no, Shade!
Shade!
On the Ripple, he's going off. Finally shut down though. Maybe a little aggressive there from Oda. Does bring it back to a 3v2. All up to Cutie and Joker. They have 1 minute. Joker is just waiting for the go signal in Pantry. But Nazgul is looking firmly in his direction.
I have to say that this is not favourable, to say the very least, for Okami. We know Cutie is sharp. We've seen Joker do the unthinkable before. And a match point in such a crucial best of 1, Raven, this early in the season. They can't let it happen. Aid will now fall just on the other side of Tetris. It's going to be both picking up kills. Sushi will trade it back with the Nitro Cell. And Joker has to come up massive for Okami. He has to make this work, Raven.
He does, and I think he's just going to have to go for this pick here. I'm not sure he's going to be able to get Diffuser down. He could try one bait, but Sushi has all the cards right now. 2 seconds to go. All the info. Sushi just has to hide. He hits the deck, and he hits the shot, Matic. That is Team Ferox closing out the map. Oh, what a shocker. I cannot believe this is how we start tonight.
I am enthralled, to say the very least. I'm thrilled. I am excited for what is the rest of the night for today's Playday, because if that is the way that we kickstart Playday number 2, I can't wait to see the rest of these matches. We were saying that Okami were going to be pushing for this. There was no doubt in our minds in saying that. And I am left utterly speechless. Ferox with a dominating 7-3 victory.
Oh, and that's the thing, right? Like, this is already, quite the surprise, but 7-3 is a solid victory. They really were just looking good most of that game. There was a couple of rounds early in that first half that we thought, oh, look, Okami's starting to run away with it. They got a flawless round, and they only lost one person in the following round. So it just looked like Okami were going to come back. From that point on, they only won one round. That just, it honestly blows my mind.
And we thought, we were looking, and we highlighted it in the round when it actually happened, when Nazgul went down on the Hibana. And we were kind of sitting there thinking, that's not a great sign. That's not the way that we wanted to see Team Ferox, kind of take it to Okami. And then from then on out, it was just nothing. It was like lights were out for Okami, and they were just playing out of their mind. Shade, unbelievable game from Shade. I pray we get to hear from him, because what a guy! What a guy!
Yeah, look, he had a solid game. I think he went 14-7 in the end. I didn't quite catch the death count, something like that. But absolutely, and look, this is we sound really shocked. No disrespect to Ferox, they played fantastic. I don't want to take credit away from Ferox, because it's not only that Okami made mistakes. Ferox played really well. I think there was a lot good about the way they played tonight, and we've highlighted already too. They played well on Wednesday against Noble, who's also a top 3 team, or top 4 team. In fact, the way they finished the 6 Masters. But regardless, like, that is 2 very good performances from Ferox so far. I think we've all read into this wrong. I mean, it might be too early to say, but I don't think they're going to finish bottom 2 anymore, based on the facts of just how week 1's gone.
Well, these are the games, right? These are the games that are utmost important. Now, I believe we do have Specker on the line, and we're very interested to hear what he has to say. Specker, yep, you are summing up our feelings completely. What has happened?
Gentlemen, how are we? Great to see you both. You're both looking fantastic, might I just first of all add. Yeah, look, I don't know, it was just a bit of an all over the shop. I kind of just resorted to crouch walking around, and that didn't really work out. I mean, it worked a bit, but didn't really work out too well. We just had a lot of stuff that we're doing in scrims, but for some reason it just didn't replicate. I think this is honestly one of those, like, not to discredit Ferox, they genuinely played well. Like, they've actually surprised me from what they were to what they are now. They've genuinely improved, and, props to them, not taking anything away. But a best of 1 format, I genuinely feel like this season's practically anyone's season. Whoever comes out of the gate firing, they're going to be, of course, having that advantage, all that jazz. I'm sure you guys, you're both smart lads, you both know that. But yeah, I don't know, we just didn't get to play most of our game. But as you said, not to discredit anything that Ferox have done, they played really well. But, we were just not really there, I suppose.
Yeah, look, something I'd love to get some insight in is you guys chose, or I guess you didn't choose, but the veto went the way of Villa, which was the map that they played on Wednesday. Was that maybe something that you were leaning into, that's the map you have info on and that's what you prepped for? Or was Villa actually more of a surprise?
Not so much. It's more so like it was just, it's just we play our maps, we focus on our maps, we focus on our game. Unfortunately, our game wasn't, to a good standard today. Unfortunately, I definitely look into certain things and certain weaknesses, but yeah, we obviously didn't really capitalize on too much tonight, as you can probably see by the scoreline.
Yeah, it was, I think, a shock for all of us, and that can't be understated. A 7-3 victory to Ferox was not what we were expecting coming into this. And I think that's, we're not discrediting anything that Ferox did, but do you think that there's anything that in particular went wrong for you guys? I know that you're talking about, like you tried some things in scrims and it seemed to work there and it didn't replicate into the game. But was there anything in particular that you would pinpoint from today's game?
I feel like adapting would be one. Actually, like seeing a hold and knowing what to do and how to break it down and understanding the actual fundamentals of the hold itself. It's something that we're working on, and it's something that I want to evolve the team to fully understanding. It's a gradual process. I don't want to always rely on the crutch of, I've just come back to the game. But, once everyone on the team is up to a level that I'm happy with them, once I'm up to a level where I'm actually happy with myself, and things will start clicking, we're beginning to, you know, actually understand what to do on the fly, I think we'll be a very scary team. However, unfortunately, it's still super early days. You know, it is what it is. It's just, you know, as I said, this whole season, I almost want to say it's a trial run in the sense, like, you know, it's a BO1, don't take it too serious, play your hearts out, all that, but don't be torn up at the end of the day, you know, especially with all the coronavirus situation, all that stuff. You know, it's such a sporadic moment at the moment, but yeah, you know, we're just going to try our hardest for the rest of the season practically, and yeah, I don't know, hopefully not have that downfall in a mix of, I guess it was communication and leadership. I take a lot of the blame. I'm really bad at that, I suppose, but I take a lot of the responsibility on the team in regards to, I feel like I'm the one that let everyone down, so it is what it is. I'll take away, you know, some learnings from it, and we'll come back stronger.
Certainly so, mate. Well, we look forward to seeing you next week back in action. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, mate. It's good to see you doing that.
All right, to you two both. Great to chat to you, and looking forward to our interviews in the future.
Always. An absolute character, Specker. You could see that from the very second he joined the interview. High spirits, considering a 7-3 loss there. Raven.
Yeah, but also understandably like frustrated and very, I guess, introspective. But look, at the end of the day, that will happen. Sometimes you will just not have things clicking. And then on the other hand, Ferox felt like a lot was clicking for them tonight. So when you get that combo, I guess this is the result you get.
Yeah. And I think, you know, it is interesting to hear the way Specker was talking then. And I think, you know, you're talking about introspective and we're kind of going back and forth of that. It sounds like they are very much in that rebuild phase. It sounds like they're very much in that phase where it's like, right, this season we are going to work on getting it right so that next season we can come out of the gates firing. And I don't think that is by anything something that we should read into necessarily yet. Again, the format is so brutal. You have an off night, adios amigos, you could be seeing down toward the lower end of the bracket. So I do think that it is a rebuild phase by the way it's sounding. However, it's still quite upbeat and quite promising from them.
Yeah, and I mean, there's not too many other ways you could look at it in terms of the way forward. You don't want to get too down on yourself. It's again, it is a pretty short season, so you need to be able to bring out the form. I mean, the next game is Wednesday, so it's not like they have a week to pull around some changes, that kind of thing. You have to stay in high spirits. You just have to keep moving forward, believe in the vision, and just do what you can. So I think it sounds like that's what they're doing. I don't think it's time for them to be concerned about finishing bottom two. Yep. I'd be incredibly surprised if that's where it ended up falling to. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, like Specker said, and like you've said, they get through this season and they can just focus on 2021 as a whole.
Yeah, I think look, to be honest, that might be the takeaway. Obviously, we'll still hear from Specker later on in the season, but someone we're going to hear from now, I'm sure, is in high hopes and high regard, as well as a community that seems to love him in the Twitch chat. Oda, thank you for joining us, my friend.
How's it going, boys?
We are doing very well, I can tell you that much, and I'm sure that you're not far off that. A 7-3 victory against Okami. No one on the Snowball panel expected that, and to be honest, I don't think a lot of people in the community expected that. Tell me how you're feeling and kind of what went right for you in this case.
I don't know, just like, boys, we just put some work in on Okami. We know we're good against Okami, just like by scrimming and whatnot. And we expected, like, map bans went good. I don't know, we just knew how they were going to play because they kind of played a little the same. So yeah, I don't know, we just knew how they were going to come out. And then Shay just went off tonight. Everyone kind of went off tonight.
Yeah, I mean, look, yourself included. I still remember back on the first round, you got a 3K, and just your confident entry in stat was quite impressive for me, and that was already a bit of an alarm bell that I thought, oh, hang on, Ferox might be on tonight. Look, I want to ask you about the next week, and I guess the rest of the season. You're moving on to Knights on Wednesday. Are there any teams that maybe you're thinking forward to that you feel are like the danger teams to come up against?
Danger teams, I'd probably say Knights and Wildcard, really. That's about it, I reckon. Danger teams.
Yeah. Is there something about, so for example, you have Knights on Wednesday. Is there something about Knights? What is it that makes them that danger team for you guys?
Good gun skill. They work well together. Their attacks are really good, which is important in Siege. Like defenses, you can get away with it, but their attacks normally go good. They work well.
Sounds like it's coming together for Ferox. And I have to ask you, obviously you've still got both of those teams to play coming up later in the season, but are you holding high promise for the rest of the season after this performance? It is a very brutal format as we're talking about, and this is a great way to start it. A 7-5, only a very narrow 7-5 loss against Noble, and then a 7-3 victory against Okami. You've got to be happy with that.
Yeah, happy with tonight. I feel like we could have won on Wednesday as well. So yeah, hopefully the rest of the season goes well.
Well, I guess that's all we can really leave you on, to be honest, is that we hope that the rest of the season is as good as tonight was for you, mate. Thank you very much for joining us, Oda.
Cheers, boys.
Well, I think that kind of sums it up. They seem happy enough with the victory and they're ready for the next match. And I think the Knights game, that answer kind of interests me. And I'm very, very keen to see where they head with it come Wednesday night, because that was unexpected.
Yeah, totally. Look, they played phenomenally. Great to see Oda in interview. Obviously, it's his debut week into this level of play, and I mean, it's been a great week for him. I'd say they had a great match on Wednesday. Didn't get the win, but tonight has just been fantastic for them. So, look, I'm starting to feel a lot of promise for their season. It's just going to be a matter of how consistent they can be, whether they can replicate this week in, week out. But right now, I'm really not feeling that they are going to be the bottom two team that a lot of people were expecting.
No, I think we might have to eat our own words there, right? But I think we'll all have to eat our words, and that's completely fine because I do appreciate a good underdog story. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we were just talking about the Knights. We'll be seeing them on the other side of this short break.
Seconds remaining. Attackers are activating. Attackers, 5 seconds to go. Drop the bomb. There is left the designated safety area. Defender is exposed. Attackers bomb diffuser has been dropped. Attackers have recovered their